back, everybody. Boy, as you can see, houseplants are a great way to bring greenery indoors, and despite our best efforts to keep them alive, those plants can easily start wilting, drooping, or turning yellow. But before you throw in the towel, there are some simple steps to figure out what's wrong. Here with some easy fixes for common houseplant problems. Give it up for garden guy Dale Kaye back with us. Dale Kaye, everybody. Nobody wants a droopy or a yellow plant.
No.
I know that. Nobody wants that.
No, because you want to be a good plant parent. You want to love them. And then when things go, south, you're like, that's a reflection on you. And it's just like, it's just like nobody wants to kill anything.
No,
so
they don't.
It can be tragic.
Dale, let me tell you, during these segments, you've given me a couple of plants and I've almost murdered all of them. My mother just saved one you gave me. Do you know how she did it? No. She put it in a trash bag, tied it up, and let it create its own ecosystem for a week. We opened it up and it was thriving.
And voila, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a little mini greenhouse.
I had no idea. So when you see that your plants have the yellow leaves, I have the urge to cut the yellow part off, and everything is like, don't do that. So how do you help a plant when you see the yellow leaves or the sagginess happening?
like that one there.
Like this one, yes.
So the good news is there really is no indigenous or true house plant. So, nothing is natural indoors. So it's a little bit of tinkering and a little bit of know-how, and that's some of those simple steps that we'll go through. So don't feel so bad if all of a sudden things start to go south because there's no true indigenous house plant. So let's start with yellow leaves because that's where we're starting. Usually yellow leaves are symptomatic of too heavy a soil or overwatering, sometimes underwatering, but usually as an indoor plant, usually overwatering. So let's start with soil first, because the other thing that you want to know is all plants need to breathe. Just like we need to breathe, roots need oxygen around the roots need oxygen around them so they can breathe as well. So if the soil is too compacted, too waterlogged, that causes automatic problem.
Okay.
It's like hitting the gas. So right in front of you, Pierre, is a really good potting soil that if you're doing any repotting or you're having problems with yellow leaves, it's a chunky houseplant mix, and it has a lot of air porosity around, or it creates a lot of air porosity around the roots, and that's vital for really good drainage, because if the plant or the soil doesn't drain correctly or quick enough, that's when you start to get yellow leaves and drooping. Now, drooping can also be an indication of dry, and that becomes a watering issue then. And then, of course, the $1,000,000 question is, how often, how much do I water? All those kind of good things. Good catch. There
we go.
Well, is it true? And with the watering, so isn't it true? Like you do more or less depending on the season?
So here's the thing that I'd like to do with watering, and there's an empty pot there. I don't know if you want to pick that up.
I'm a little nervous now, Dale.
If you tip that over, there's no drainage hole in the bottom of that, and that's what we call a drop-in pot, and it's a decorative pot, so it's not really a growing pot. So you want to make sure that if you have a decorative pot like that there's no sitting water. You want to make sure you water outside of that container. That's one thing. The other thing is plants will talk to us. Like this one here, is it dry? Is it too wet? Sometimes it could be either or. But if you were to stick your finger into the soil, you'll probably notice that one is dry.
She's dry.
Yeah. And it needs a drink. So our plants will actually, you got to know how to speak plant, but they'll actually start to talk to us. And let water kind of drain all the way through. The other thing is you don't want your plant to sit in any kind of, when it's in a saucer, you don't want it to sit in that water for prolonged periods. So what I like to do is put little stones right in the bottom of my plant saucer, and then the plant just sits right on top. Do this one. The plant just sits right on top of those stones. So any water that sits in there kind of sits below the stones. The other thing that will do is as you're watering, any of that water in the bottom creates natural humidity, and that's the other key component, particularly indoors, really any plant indoors, particularly here in the upper Midwest when it's cold out. By crikey, she's cold out. It gets really dry inside, so that little bit of water in the bottom will actually help create humidity without the plant sitting in the water, because that lack of air circulation really starts to cause the wilting.
When you mentioned this like chunky soil mix, so if I go into the store and I'm just trying to find a potting soil that works, there are like 1 million on the wall. Am I actually looking for one that says chunky?
Yeah, you'll find it. There's a couple of companies, Lost in the Forest, and then also also Sol soils. They both do that chunky, we call it a substrate, that's chunky potting soil. So
Okay.
it's a little bit of a niche product, but when you know it's a simple, easy fix.
Okay, perfect.
There's a term here that I'm not familiar with. Leggy growth. Tell me a little bit about that. What should I be looking out for leggy growth?
Great
Dale?
question, yeah.
It's like stretching, or plants start to lose their leaves, or they start to bend, or you buy it nice and bushy, and the next thing you know, it's leaning, it's drooping, all those kind of things. When you get a leggy plant, it's usually indicative of light, and you kind of, that light.
Yes.
That light kit there.
The one that nearly attacked me
Yeah,
a couple of
that was
minutes
a
ago.
situation.
It's got tentacles on it, but increasing light, particularly when days are short, that will stop leggy growth. And you can deploy that kind of theory when you're seeding, starting young plants from seed. When they start to get leggy, the more light that you give them, the less legginess that you'll get out of them.
Okay, so I unfortunately purchased a fiddle leaf fig, which I was told very early on are very they're questionable plants. Okay, they don't know what they like, and I don't know how to help mine, named Keanu Leaves. When I purchased him in 2021, if we have the photo, he was full of life, Dale. Look at this. Stunning. It's massive. He's like 7 feet plus tall. Now, this was 2021. I did not murder him, Dale, but this is what he looks like as of this morning. I don't know what to do because he's so huge. I can't easily repot this large houseplant. Like, it is so massive and heavy. I even bought little fiddle leaf food off of Amazon because I was like, what do I do? What do I do?
The good news for me is it's job security.
It is, truly. It is.
I love it. So fiddle leaf fig, without dancing around it, it is the most temperamental, fussiest houseplant. It was the internet charm, the social media charm of houseplants. It's the hardest to take care of. Really finicky. It needs bright indirect light. It needs stable. Don't move it around. Sunshine, sometimes excessive sun at certain times of year will trip it up. So it's just really, really finicky. That thing needs a little bit of fertilizer, but you got.
What do I do, Dale? Should I cut everything off and start over?
We might have to get that one into the next segment
Okay,
because
okay.
It needs some help.
We'll continue that conversation coming up. More with Dale Kaye coming up, including some viewer questions as well. All of that's coming up here on the Jason Show.
Brutal. When I first got it, I would mist the air around it. I would clean the leaves.
Let's make it.
Welcome back, everybody. Garden guy Dale Kaye is here. It's time to hear from you, but before we do that, we do need to further discuss Keanu Leaves.
Thank
that
you.
lives in Fallon's home. We were just talking about him in the previous segment.
Yeah, if we can go back to that picture of what it looks like today,
Yes.
because it's really never going to be quite a lush plant again because it's just too.
No.
But here's what you do: you call it an architectural piece.
Okay.
Call it an architectural
I like
piece.
this.
And then what you're going to want to do is fertilize it a little bit. And the finicky part is it needs humidity. So if you don't have one of those little humidifiers, I have a little one here that you can put at your desktop, but in your big space, that big plant, a humidifier would be really good. There is a really sweet spot with fiddle leaf ficuses on watering. And really you want to kind of temper your water, don't have it too cold, and then maybe once a week, and then just whatever amount of water you put on it, that's what you're going to, from here on out, that's the same dose you're going to give it. Just keep that the same, humidity, a little spot of fertilizer, and you have a beautiful architectural
Thank you. Okay.
piece
I was going to say,
in your
it's
home.
seeming to be as demanding as my 6-year-old here, Dale, and
Yeah,
I'm a little concerned about that.
And it won't even eat mac and cheese. That's the problem.
That is the problem. That's all my 6-year-old will eat, so
Right.
you get it. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
we posted on the Jason Show Facebook page asking for your plant questions for Dale. Let's get to a few of them right now. Karina, or it might be Karina, apologies. But Karina is first. She sent us a photo and wants to know, what do I need to do so that my orchids will bloom again? They're in bloom when I purchase them, but then I can never get another bloom, Dale.
It can be tricky, and it's really how you treat that spent bloom. And I have a ficus. I have an orchid right here. But once that bloom is done,
Yeah.
there are these nodes. They might be a little hard to see, but there's these segmented nodes that run down the stem. And on her plant, the stem was a little bit frizzled, but the nodes will still be there. You want to count 2 nodes up, and then you want to keep the second node. So you can see that little node right there. That would be the second. You make your prune just right above that, and that's kind of like the tonic to kind of re-trigger blooms.
Gotcha.
Okay. Cammie wants to know, is there anything I can do to make this plant look better?
So that,
Oh my gosh, I relate to you
yes,
so much.
that is almost cookie cutter to your plant. So the thing in the tall thing, it's called Dracaena, and that's kind of what it does. It'll grow towards light. It will kind of shoot up this tall growth, and it'll often shed the bottom leaves. Once you get them that tall, again, it's not going to all of a sudden fill in the base, but a little bit of light, keeping high light around the head of that.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of fertilizer, kind of like with your fiddle leaf, that's kind of the thing to do.
So you can't cut that one down and it'll rebloom and flourish.
So if there was growth at the base, you could cut that one
Yeah.
back, but I would leave it because,
Okay.
having that height in the space is kind of nice, but it's not automatically just going to fill in along that.
Okay.
along that
All right, Cindy is next. She says, my Meyer lemon tree was doing great for years and giving fruit. Now it has dropped almost all leaves and not producing anymore. What can I do?
By geez, by jingo, by crikey. That is.
Oh, is that a bad sign there, Dale?
So when I took a look at that, when I looked at that picture just before, that soil looked really compacted. So it could probably use a little bit of a repotting. Sometimes that can stress plants out even more. There was some fruit on there. Prune that fruit. Yeah, there it is. Prune
boy.
that fruit off because all the energy of the plant is going into the fruit right now. So if you were to prune the fruit off, even though that's the last thing you want to do, prune the fruit off. A little bit of fertilizer would be good. There's some citrus fertilizer that you can buy from your favorite local garden shop. That's an acidifying fertilizer. That will help. And then as bright and as warm as you can get that plant to be, that is good. Make sure it's not too close to that window if it's in a cold climate. You could cut it back about a third too. That would help initiate new growth.
Okay, Lori wants to know, what should I do about the brown tips on the leaves of my prayer plant?
So prayer plant or Maranta is very sensitive to watering or things in the water like chlorine, fluoride, much like the Spathiphyllum is. Salts, if you got a water softener, they're sensitive to that too. There is a little product that you can buy. It's called it's this tap water purifier that is for houseplants. If you were to add that to your water, then your prayer plant more than likely won't get those brown scorches. Also make sure it's not too sunny as well, because Maranta or prayer plant will also suffer from sunburn.
Okay.
I'm
It's
always
like a
learning.
pale skin plant.
I'm
No
always learning
kidding.
something when Dale's here.
No kidding, so smart.
I'm always learning something.
Makes me feel like I don't know about much.
We'll see if Keanu Leaves makes a comeback later in the year.
yeah,
Give it up
for
for
sure.
Dale, everybody. For more plants, advice, and tips, follow Dale on Instagram. We'll be right back.
Thanks,
We
Dale.
need it to be more like a John Wick Keanu Reeves. That's close to Dylan's head.
It's right.